let's start. So now we are going to look into the example for algorithm representation, and I hope that you remember from previous video that we were going to talk about 11 different aspects of algorithm representation. Okay, so first we want to give name to the algorithm. So let's start with a hands-on example. Okay, so when I want to give name to an algorithm, so I'm writing any algorithm name. What I'm going to do is just write name of the procedure. So for example, let's say we are going to have a procedure named say find maximum. Okay, so I'm going to name it say find max. Okay, so that's the way we are going to represent name of any algorithm. Okay, so once we have that, then our algorithm needs to have certain inputs and variables. Okay, so to represent a variable name, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use small case letters. Okay, so I can have variables with name say current, previous, and so on. Okay, so these are my variable names, and sometimes I might have to group the variables together. So I might have to create an array or something else. So whenever I am going to have a variable group together, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use capital letters. Okay, so if I talk about a particular say group called A, it would be in capitals. Okay, and then I have to access a particular group element. So to access a group element, the notation that we are going to use is first you have to give the group name A, followed by the opening brackets and then the index. Okay, so if I'm accessing say 0th element of this group, it is A0. If I'm accessing a particular element with another variable, let's say A, and I call it say index. Okay, so that's how I will access a particular element of this group. Okay, and next thing we have to talk about is how do I represent a particular say property of the group. So I can say that, oh, this group has a particular property. So for example, in case of group A, I might want to know how many elements are there in group A. So I would represent it as A dot say length. Okay, so these names, they are up to us. The important part is the notation. Okay, so group name dot followed by whatever the property that you define. And similarly, our variables sometimes can have their own properties. Okay, so I can have a variable property which I am going to access in the same manner. So I will give the variable name. So if my variable is say current, and I might want to access a property called parent, so current dot parent would be the property. Sometimes we will assume that the variables are simple variables and they don't have any special property. In that case, we will simply write the variable name, okay, and then access its value. So now we have these basic things together, and let's see what else we have to cover. Okay, so now we have to talk about the value assignment and the equality check and the arithmetic operations over these variables. Okay, so let's go back and talk about value assignment. So if I'm going to do the value assignment, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to write the name of the variable. So let's say variable is current, and to this variable, let's say I want to assign value 5. Okay, that's how I will do it. Or sometimes what I will want is, instead of giving a specific value, I might want to take a particular variable say current, and to this variable I might want to assign value of other variable, say variable previous. Okay, so that's how it will look like. So that's my value assignment. And sometimes we might want to check if two variables have the equal value or same value. Okay, so I would have the equality check. So I'll give name of the say first variable, let's say current, and I'll ask question if it is equal to other variable, say previous. Okay, we are not going to go into the detailed semantics of any particular programming language. We will not go into the exact interpretation in any programming language. Okay, so please don't pick up corner cases from any particular programming language. Okay, so once we do the equality check, we have to define various arithmetic operations. So I'll have various arithmetic operations such as addition, subtraction, multiplication, and so on. Okay, so let's say if I take a variable called current, and to this I add the value of variable previous, that's how it will look like. And the result of this operation is again going to be a variable which I can store anywhere. I can compare against a value, or I can assign it to another variable. So I can say that, or let's say a variable t is equal to current plus previous. So those are my arithmetic operations. And once we have these basic statements in place, we need to define two constructs. First is the conditional constructs, and second is the looping constructs. Okay, because sometimes we might want to execute a set of statements only if a certain condition is true. So let's go and specify how we are going to write the conditional constructs. So first conditional construct we are going to have is if. So conditional constructs. So first one that I'm going to have is the if condition. So I'm going to specify if, and within the parenthesis I'm going to have a certain condition. I'm going to assume that these condition evaluates to either true or false, and then I'm going to have opening braces and closing braces. So everything inside this will be executed only if the condition evaluates to be true. Okay, and this is quite similar to almost any programming language syntax. Okay, so that's how we are going to have our if, and sometimes we are going to also attach else to it. So sometimes we'll say that if, and then we will have else attached with it, and else will have its opening braces, and else will have its closing braces. So this is the block that will be executed only if this condition evaluates to be false. Okay, so this is the true block, and this is the false block. Okay, that's how we are going to represent conditionals, and you can make them more complex. You can introduce if, else, if, and so on. Okay, but let's limit ourselves to simple conditional constructs, if and else. Okay, many programming languages have more complex constructs such as switch cases and so on, but we will not involve such constructs unless they are really required. Okay, so we will typically use only two conditional constructs, if and condition, and sometimes if, condition, and else. Okay, so those are the conditional constructs that we are going to look at, and then we will sometimes require the looping constructs. So a block of statements, sometimes we want to execute it not just once but multiple times. depending on certain condition. Okay, so the simplest looping construct that we are going to use is while. Okay, while, and we are going to specify a particular again condition which evaluates to be just true or false, and then we'll provide a block of statements that we should execute if this condition is true. Okay, so what is going to happen is we will come, evaluate the condition, go inside, execute this whole block sequentially right up to the end, and then when we encounter the closing braces, we are going to go back to the condition and check if the condition evaluates to be true. If it is true, we are again going to go inside and execute this block, come back, and only when the condition evaluates to be false, we are going to come out and execute the remaining algorithm. Okay, so that's one particular construct that we will have, but sometimes we will use a construct for, and what we are going to do is we are going to club three things together. So when you execute this while loop, you initialize few things beforehand. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll have that initialization here in the for loop. So this will be the initialization, followed by the condition, and typically what is going to happen is when you finish one particular execution of this loop, you do some changes, right, to the condition, and then you go back and evaluate the condition. So what we'll do is we'll do the same bookkeeping operation or the per loop operation here, and we will have our for loop. So the way for loop going to work is that when you come to the for loop, you are going to have initialization, you are going to check condition, you are going to go inside and execute your whole block right up to the end, and then come back to your bookkeeping operation, and then go back and again evaluate the condition. Okay, so that's the way our second looping construct for is going to work. Okay, so to summarize, we are going to have two conditional constructs. One is the if, second is if else, and we are going to have two looping constructs, while and for. Okay, and now let's talk about just returning the values. So whenever we are done with executing our algorithm, how are we going to return anything? So for returning, we will use something like a return. Sometimes we might not have anything to return specific, or sometimes we might have a value, so we might return say value 5, or sometimes we might return a variable, so we'll say return variable previous. Okay, and we are not going to involve ourselves into pointers or any such language specific things. We'll just assume that we return a particular value. Okay, so that is going to be our notation. It covers most of the things that we require, but if we require a few extra things, we will define them. So that's about the notation. In the next video, we will do one particular example and see how this notation helps us to represent a particular algorithm.